Good morning, everyone, and welcome. I'm Councillor Steve Pitt. I'm the leader of the Council, but also the Cabinet Member for Culture, Regeneration and Economic Development. But housekeeping, if the continuous fire alarm sounds, please evacuate the room and the public gallery via the stairwells and do not attempt to use the lifts. Please assemble by the Queen Victoria statue. To comply with the Guildhall Trust's fire marshal regulations, anyone who signed in at receptions to sign out when leaving. Please use a microphone and you will be recorded and broadcast on the website, including anyone making a deputation, although today there are none. Members of the press and public are also permitted to record the meeting on the understanding it neither disrupts the meeting nor records those explicitly stating they do not wish to be recorded. Please use the microphones and remember to switch them off when you have finished. We'll start with some introductions around the table. You know who I am. Over to you, Lisa.
Good morning, Lisa Gallagher from Democratic Services.
Good morning, Ross Fairbrother, General Manager of the D-Day Story.
Hello, Claire Looney, Partnership and Commissioning Manager.
Steph Parker, Employment and Skills Manager.
Jane Lemaire, Head of Economic Development and Skills.
Welcome all. We have two apologies for absence today, one from Councillor Mary Vallely and one from Councillor Matthew Cordy. They will be duly recorded. I have no declarations of interests apart from where we mentioned the Arts Council. I am a member of Arts Council South West Area Council. Okay, we're on to item 3 on the agenda then, which is the update of the Portsmouth Skills Strategy. And Steph, you're presenting.
Thank you. Yep, so the purpose of this is to bring the Skills and Labour Market Strategy 2026 to 2030 for approval. This strategy follows on from our previous strategy, which expired in December 2025. The new strategy is informed by the outcomes from that, which were monitored by annual review plans. We've had stakeholder consultations, we've looked at local, regional, national policies, we've looked at other plans and strategies, and we've done a full labour market review of the current skills and employment profile in Portsmouth. Probably a good point to say that we have also included labour market information from our neighbouring authorities of Gosport, Fareham and Havant. The reason for this is all the data shows the commuter patterns between those areas and actually how our businesses are using a wider labour market. So anything we can do to strengthen and benefit the surrounding areas with our initiatives, we will endeavour to do. Last strategy, we saw some really good improvements. Employment rose approximately 10% from 70.8 to 80.4. Our level 4 attainment rose from 33.1 to 46.9. We saw economic inactivity dropping from 26.1 to 17. We saw an increase in earnings from mid-range 500 a week to 701. We saw things like net zero hubs being created at City Portsmouth College, and we saw new engineering programmes. This strategy is very different. It addresses very different things. This new strategy is all about breaking down barriers. It's about creating and enhancing opportunities for people across the city. It works extremely hard to address the disparities that we have, specifically supporting those in our most disadvantaged wards. And it's very focused on providing pathways to our youth residents and addressing our increasing NEET issue, which I will say is not just a Portsmouth issue, it is national, but one that we need to address as it continues to grow. The strategy builds on collaboration with businesses and partners, including local authorities, not only within Portsmouth, but across those boundaries, as I said. And what I will run through is just very quickly the themes within it. So we have 6 themes in this strategy. One is for the next gen workforce, which includes the NEETs that I was just discussing. Theme 2 is skills for stronger communities, and that is all about adult learning and opening up pathways for people back into training and employment. Theme 3 is foundations for success. Theme 4, skills that build, supporting sectors. It's important to recognise that whilst we are aligning to national strategies which look at very fast-growing, forward-facing industries, we do have a strong foundational economy in Portsmouth, and we are recognising that and understanding that that is an important sector for some of our entry-level jobs and growth to come from. Better jobs, brighter futures. We have a very high level of people who are in employment, but it is part-time. So we are looking at in-work poverty. We are looking at strong, stable jobs. And partnering for progress, that is all about working with our businesses, our skills providers, our charities and our community groups to ensure that we are actually providing opportunities and initiatives that are going to work on the ground. Alongside this report is the Year 1 action plan. Within that action plan, we have a case study from each theme of actually what Portsmouth is doing well. This action plan might not necessarily bring in new initiatives, but it might look at ways that we can continue and enhance the current provision that we have. Each of the action plans will be reviewed and brought to CRED. And the next one for Year 2 will be developed towards the end of Year 1. We're doing that so that we can make sure that we are being very reactive to any changes in policy and changes to the labour market in Portsmouth. And I think that might well be it.
Thanks, Steph. I mean, it is a significant departure from the previous strategy, but it needs to be, doesn't it? Last time around, we were looking very strategically at engaging with particularly large-scale employers. There was a lot of focus on that, whereas now we're honing in on those key issues around NEETs and the unemployment rate, which is the two things that remain resistant to our attempts to disrupt them. Absolutely. I'm just wondering, with the strategy document now, what's actually going to happen to it next?
So it will go through to design, so they make it look lovely and sharp. It will be pushed out on the PCC website, through social media, and then we're going to take it out to some of our stakeholder groups, so people like PAMIAC and our shaping skills provider, and make sure they're aware. And then it will just be partner meetings on a quarterly basis for everyone that is involved in the action plans, so that when we review after a year, we've got all the information that we need.
And I mention that specifically because it's not just a Portsmouth City Council skills strategy, it's a skills strategy for the city.
Absolutely.
And it's been developed in partnership with a wide range of stakeholders.
Absolutely.
So everybody takes ownership of that in the same way that they did with the city vision as well.
Absolutely.
Okay, in that case, I just want to thank you for all your work on this. It's hugely appreciated, and I think we've got a really good document there to base our next attack on the issues that we face in terms of employment on. So thank you very much indeed. Just got to note whether or not I'm supposed to do anything. I've got to approve it, I think, today. And then, is that right? I've got nothing on my notes. I'm approving it, Lisa, am I? Yeah. So, yes, it is so approved. Let's get it designed and out there, as it were. So thank you very much indeed. Okay, item 4, business support. Jane Lemaire, Head of Economic Skills and Growth and Skills. Nearly got it the wrong way around.
Good morning, Councillor Pitt. So this report is an information-only report, which is summarising some of the local business support that we deliver across the PO1 to PO6 areas. And obviously we're making reference to some of our partners, including the Solent Growth Partnership, Growth Hub, and how we work with them to provide different services. There is quite a lot of detail in the report, but we cover everything from the Portsmouth Business Support Service, which is how we use our own business helpline, which was established pre-COVID, to work with Shaping Portsmouth to deliver a whole host of free-to-access support for small businesses. The Portsmouth Match Fund, which has allowed us to give small business grants using UK Shared Prosperity Fund. The Creatives Match Funding, which has used UK Shared Prosperity Fund to support creatives bringing in funding from national projects. So brought in a significant amount of money to the area. The Portsmouth Pop-Up Shop, looking at retailing, which has been established in the Cascades shopping centre in Commercial Road, and has had throughput of various different providers, including 2 which are going into established shops within Cascades as part of that project, and the Love Portsmouth project, which was a unique project we delivered last year using UK Shared Prosperity Fund to support 33 fairly permanent traders in Gunwharf, giving access to a really unique project place for those often creative businesses, but a whole range of our local small businesses. I think in total we saw over 70 businesses supported within that provision. The Small Business Saturday work that we do every December, and the additional support we've been able to give businesses to move into market trading. The PCC B2B networking, which is held on a monthly basis on the 3rd Thursday, delivered in venues across the city to not only provide networking but also encourage businesses to go to different venues and highlight those. We've done the international trade work, particularly poignant with Halifax, Nova Scotia, where we've done some international trade work. Portsmouth Business Boost, which is through the University of Portsmouth. Our Eat the Island project, where we're promoting supply chain and hospitality and food producers. The PCC run markets and our commissioned markets. Future Portsmouth 26. The Portsmouth and South Coast Business Week, which is where we work with Hampshire Chamber and various other partners to deliver a whole week of support and business networking opportunities. And our Business Improvement District, where we've had 2 feasibility studies. One is in play for Palmerston Road, and the Commercial Road one we're actually moving with our partners to vote. So ballots will be with people in the Commercial Road area next week, and the vote is by the 13th of March, and a yes bid would allow that bid to actually be the first one to establish in Portsmouth, recognising Portsmouth are one of the few areas that do not have a business improvement district. Our work in the enterprise centres, the Solent Growth Partnership business support activity, which is supplemented work where we're working with the Isle of Wight, Portsmouth and Southampton to deliver a growth hub, and various events that we've delivered across the city to promote networking and to provide business support, including hosting DBT visits.
Thank you, Jane. I'm just looking through while you were talking us through the report. That's 19 different strands of work, and that's just the headlines. There are sub-strands within a number of those. And I often hear the narrative that, well, what does the council do to support local businesses? Well, the answer, if anyone's watching, is you should read this report, because the answer is a vast amount with very limited resources. And I think what we achieve as part of the Team Portsmouth approach that we have to this, through things like the Business Support Service, but also working with people like Portsmouth Creates over the Creative Match Fund that we do, and with our markets and other local traders, is enormous. It's a huge amount of work. So I'm going to ask you after today's meeting to liaise with Kelly Nash, please, and make sure that this report is sent to both members of Parliament, and it is also distributed to full council, because there's no one here other than me and you guys today, but other people need to be aware of the volume of activity in this area, which is immense. And I notice we've just done a press release that's gone out this week talking about all the work we've most recently done with markets around supporting those with rebranding and growth and development. And it is very much a really important piece of work that we do. And as I have already referenced, with very limited resources. Not helped, of course, by the fact that the government has deleted the UK Share Prosperity Fund, which has been supporting some of this work. So the administration is having to take some action to make sure that the most important elements of it are protected so that we can continue to move forward with it. So reports noted. Thank you to you and the team and the wider team, Portsmouth, who all play such an active role in making sure that we do everything we can, support our local businesses, and hopefully we'll be able to maintain and expand that over the next year.
Thank you.
Okay, and please don't feel you need to stick around. I know there's not many people in the room, but I'm sure Ross and Claire will be all right on their own. As we move over to item 5, and that is you, Ross. That's the update from the D-Day story.
Okay, thank you. So this is an information report which is updating on the activity from the D-Day story throughout 2025. So the museum has carried out a range of things following the 80th anniversary of D-Day in 2024, which are detailed throughout the report. So some of the main highlights include the fact that the museum made a positive financial operating contribution through the 2024 5-year and is forecast to do so again this year. The museum continues to attract visitors from all around the world to the city, including from across the UK, around Europe and the US as well. And a big part of that is the museum's ongoing relationship with cruise excursion companies and working with the port in the city. The museum has continued to invest in its groups offer and throughout the last year has continued to invest in the development of tours which we offer, which enhance the group offer which we have. And that's included investment in new technology, which has enabled us to grow the range of tours which we offer, which enhances the offer which we're able to put on. There's been a range of events and activities that have been put on throughout the last year, including a number to mark the 80th anniversary of the end of the war, including VE and VJ Day. That included a book, Victory in 80 Objects, which was a collaboration with a number of other national museums across the country. And the museum also did a range of activities to support Heritage Open Days and the 60 Plus Festival in the city. The museum also put on 3 temporary exhibitions, which included The Lucky Ones Grow Old, which was a collaboration with a local photographer, which detailed the stories of 9 Second World War veterans, and that subsequently went on to be displayed at Fort Nelson in the city, or just beyond the city. An exhibition which showcased stories related to Holocaust Memorial Day, and more recently, Fun, Fit and Familiarity, which showcased local stories of residents' experiences as children during the Second World War, which also involved working with the University of Portsmouth, and that's subsequently gone on to be displayed at Portsmouth Museum and Art Gallery, and that will be on display for a number of months throughout this year. The museum has continued to work to welcome a number of school children to the museum, and last year we welcomed over 1,200 sponsored visits to the museum, which included travel for free and over 1,400 visits on top of that as well. And we're continuing to work on a number of other activities and activity at the museum to engage with young people as well. And finally, the museum won a number of awards which reflects the quality of the offer at the museum, including a TripAdvisor Traveller's Choice Award, News Business Excellent Award, Museum and Heritage Awards for the museum redevelopment of the shop, and a Small Attraction of the Year award at the Beautiful South Awards towards the end of last year. Thank you.
Thank you, Ross. A whistle stop through a really busy year, and I know that we're particularly proud of beating some very big players for the Museum Shop Award. I know the team were very pleased about that, and rightly so as well, and it's received quite a lot of coverage, which it deserves. I make that over 2,700 children in total that have been through the museum, and that will be without individual children attending with families and stuff as well. So it's really important that we're transmitting that message of what happened at D-Day and the global significance of it, but also making sure that people are aware of just how horrendous the whole thing was, and making sure that we learn those lessons from the past. I've seen the different pop-up exhibitions that we've had during the year, and the Lucky Ones Grow Old. One in particular was hugely welcomed and came back for a round 2 because it was so popular. And the Fun, Fear and Familiarity one that was on exhibition fairly recently is also excellent. I'm delighted it's got another opportunity to be seen at Portsmouth Museum and Art Gallery. It's going to be a busy time moving forward for the museum as well, and obviously it would be remiss of me not to mention that with things like local government reorganisation looming, the need for our museums to remain successful and if possible even income generating helps them to be resilient for the future, and we're certainly achieving that at D-Day. I don't think I've got anything else to add. Any other comments you wanted to add to that? No, you're okay.
Thank you.
In that case, the report is noted. Thanks to you, and please pass on my personal thanks and that of the administration to the whole team for the excellent work that they're doing.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. 6 then, Victorious Festival. That's you, Claire.
Councillor Pitt, thank you very much. This report just summarises the economic impact of Victorious Festival from summer 2025, but in particular it looks at the wider impact of their event in terms of the more unusual aspects of Victorious with their community support behind the scenes. So whilst the report highlights some of the key figures, such as their total attendance and also the very considerable economic impact figure that is produced, which is, sorry, I just need to check it, 27,434,000 of direct and indirect spend impact in the city. Of particular, I wanted to just highlight aspects which are some of the quieter but very successful and notable elements of the event's delivery in the city. So their continuing achievement for the gold status on Attitude is Everything Charter of Best Practice does mean they're one of the few events across the country where they have made particular measures and put in place particular aspects to support people attending who have both physical and mental accessibility provision needs. And it remains high in terms of the number of attenders who can come to their event. I appreciate that the land we offer for the event is luckily very flat, so that does help considerably, but they also put in a range of other additional support to make sure that there are elements such as quiet areas, support networks in place throughout the event to enable people from all areas to come and enjoy the event. I also wanted to particularly highlight some of those longer term and more community-orientated aspects that the festival contributes towards. They have always supported a range of good causes, and the good causes vary with financial contributions across the year. But in particular this year, we've highlighted in this report a range of behind-the-scenes elements. And those are things like the discounted pitches for local businesses and charities in their marketplace, the discounted pitches for local food and drink businesses in terms of supporting those SMEs across the city, pitches which are free to local creative and charitable organisations with a kids offer, and advertising packages to local business and charities. That's quite a considerable value in terms of what they're contributing. Also, the use and continuing ongoing use of their equipment to support other events. So for many events in the city, they use and borrow Victoria's Festival's equipment, which is a considerable saving to those events. These can be anything from some of the City Council's own events through to things such as Portsmouth Pride, the Undercover Skate Park, Look Up, and also Portsmouth Creates. So the wider impact of the festival is not only in terms of the event itself, but that year-round support it gives into the community. I think the rest of the report speaks for itself, if that's okay. Thank you.
Thank you, Claire, and I think it's really important that we do shine a light on this. My one criticism of Victorious is they don't shout loudly enough about the social impact that they make in the city. And when you interrogate these numbers, the impact they have is massive. I mean, you could easily look through this summary and just see the to-date Victorious Festival has donated £926,370 to their range of good causes, but that's cash. With the support in kind and the discounted packages they offer to local traders, but also the way that they've become embedded across our events sector, not just for council events, but broader across community events. If they disappeared tomorrow, the viability of the huge events programme that we run both as a council and across our communities would be severely financially challenged, wouldn't it?
Completely. And I also think it's those events know they're very grateful for that wider support in terms of not only physical equipment but also being able to tap into that extraordinary knowledge bank that staff team have, and they generously give that in many instances for no cost to those organisations and events. Also, where they're very responsive and they pick up on current themes or issues. So, for example, they've been working particularly well this year with the Swan Support Group, the charity that helped look after the swans at Canoe Lake, giving them a particular profile, even manufacturing swan-shaped elements of the festival to highlight the work that the charity does. So it's that flexibility, I think, that really benefits the city in a much bigger picture.
Yeah, I completely agree. And also their particular passion for literacy and all things reading related has shone through from the very beginning, and we wouldn't have had things like We Shine Festival if it wasn't for Victorious. We would not be able to continue to deliver Southsea Food Festival in the way that we do if it wasn't for Victorious. So I understand that most people see Victorious as a large-scale music event that happens on the seafront and maybe disrupts their daily dog walking a little bit for a couple of weeks in the summer and then shuts off an area of the seafront for a few days while the festival happens. But it is a year-round activity, and the thing that's always struck me is not that we have to twist their arm to support people, but we ask for support, and it is, as you've referenced already, so willingly given. And they've become so vital. And also the fact that, which we haven't specifically mentioned because it was a while back, but it is ongoing, their direct financial support for Portsmouth Creates, without which we wouldn't have been able to establish it in the first place, because that partnership was vital with the university, the city and the Arts Council. And Portsmouth Creates will be today submitting the expression of interest for the City of Culture bid for 2029. So their existence would have probably not happened if it had not been for the work of Victorious, who actually funded the report that led to them being formed in the first place. So their reach is vast, their impact with our communities is huge, and I think it's absolutely appropriate that we brought a report just to let people know the wider work that they do across the city all year round, and I would like to formally record our thanks to the team for everything they do as part of Team Portsmouth. Okay, reports noted, obviously, and that final item is Arts Council funding. Staying with you, Claire.
Councillor Pitt, thank you. The purpose of this report is really to highlight what has been happening and changing to the Arts Council funding that's coming into the city over the last few years. In part, this is predicated on the fact that Portsmouth has been a priority place identified by the Arts Council, but it's also demonstrating the increasing success we are having, both in terms of increased number of applications going into the Arts Council, but also the better quality of applications, the embedding of knowledge and learning from putting in those applications, and helping to boost the confidence overall of the creative sector across the city. The report talks about and illustrates the range of funding streams that the Arts Council provides. Some direct comparison is challenging because those funding streams may only be available for a short period of time, but it illustrates some of those core ones over time. We can see clearly that the amount of funding coming into the city is increasing. Not always the number of grants coming in, because some of the grants are for larger amounts, but it is having a beneficial effect. But what is more important is the fact that that embedded knowledge of successful applications is also becoming intrinsic into the cultural creative sector across the city. We're very conscious of the support that both officers and Portsmouth Creates give in terms of supporting organisations prepare themselves to do those applications. That knowledge is becoming wider spread. There's more sharing of success, if you like, and also success breeds further success in terms of that boost to confidence. The report tries to summarise this in a statistically backed up way in something that we know is happening, but it's actually quite hard to demonstrate. So that's the aim of the report today. Thank you.
Thank you, Claire. And yes, it is often intangible, but it's one of the things that somebody asked me a question last week about how did they think us submitting a bid to be UK City of Culture differed from previous submissions that we may have made, which were a decade ago now. And my answer was that if we had launched this same bid 8 years ago, we would have had 30 to 40 people turn up to have a meeting about it. Maybe a few more, but it certainly would have been in the tens rather than the hundreds, because the community wasn't networked well. Everybody was working in silos. There was very little investment coming in from externals beyond the National Lottery Heritage Fund, and therefore people were concentrating on surviving as creatives rather than thriving as creatives. And what's changed over the last 8 years is that they have genuinely become a community. When we brought Arts Council England and South West Council down, my colleagues visited the city September before last, and they were really surprised that just how many people turned up to see them on a weekday lunchtime, but also how many of those people knew each other and were busy and having conversations when they came into the room. It wasn't a bunch of people stood around awkwardly waiting to receive some guests. So that's what's changed, and it's been fundamental. And in a similar way to our employment figures going up by 10%, you can't identify one thing that's impacted on that, but you know that all of the collective activity and all the partnership working across different sectors and different organisations is having that impact. And you know, as part of that report we had from Jane earlier on, we saw reference to the creative match funding, and we're talking about it here from a culture and leisure perspective from the Arts Council very specifically. And it is working across the council and across the city with all our sectors and partners that is driving that success. And I've every confidence that it will continue once we stop being a priority place, because we will have become a place that attracts investment and where the sector is seen to be thriving, and that's really important. So good luck to the Creates team and everyone that's over 3,000 people fed into the expression of interest, so good luck to them. Thank you very much indeed to the Arts Council for their investment and actually their fundamental change in approach to Portsmouth, which I think is definitely a real thing. They are here very regularly, always in conversations. People are saying to me, oh, I've just seen Sarah or I've just seen Ginny. So they are a physical presence in the city as well as a generally supportive one, and I think that's had a massive impact. So it was important to bring this and shine a light on it. Is there anything else you wanted to add? Okay, in which case the report is noted. With that, we close today's meeting at just after 10:30. Thank you very much.